Hare Krishna, everyone, dear devotees. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios at Neelachal, the name of the house, Shelwick, the name of the place, in Hereford, at the home of Chakradari Prabhu and Rajalakshmi Devi Dasi, and their two beautiful children who right now running around and doing whatever you don't know what they're doing, but they're here. And they've rolled out the carpet of their hospitality, and just to throw in an extra thing, he gave me a hip, a new hip. He's the surgeon, by the way, in case you didn't know. And so I don't have anything really to repay him, to repay them for all this hospitality. But it's so good to be back with you all. And for this very special moment, this is the second time in 1 year I've had to stop the readings for a month at a time. And since the last more than 3 years, I've been reading every day, almost every day. Day here, day there. But I'm so happy to be back. And I hope that I'll never have to stop again. Hare Krishna. I ask for that blessing from all the Vaishnavas. So I decided we're going to, for the next book, because we finished, remember? A month ago. Can we remember? Well, I don't know, maybe. We finished the Brihat Bhagavatamrita. And now we're going to read, cover to cover, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which was one of the first books that Srila Prabhupada gave us, which is a miracle in the sense that he and his spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, were very critical of devotees jumping to the 10th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It's very typical in India that the professional reciters, they jump right into the rasa dance and the rasa lila and the 10th canto, most confidential pastimes of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada was so kind. He compiled a summary study of the 10th canto. And he did it in such a way that no one can be mistaken as to who Krishna is and what the rasa dance is and all the other intimate leelas in Vrindavan. And so he gave us the whole 10th canto, right from the beginning, practically, just in case he couldn't finish the Bhagavatam translation, which was his magnum opus. He got into finished the 13th chapter of the 10th canto in his verse-by-verse translation and purports. So, before we read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the form of the Krishna book, we'll again recite the Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami. It is a five-verse glorification of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, particularly the Vrindavan Leela pastimes of Krishna. It goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Prabho Kalidwandoditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life heir of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Mannishtadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin atini chochatakada hanamunchagadachin mam premna rit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dedication. To my father, Gaur Mohan De, 1849 to 1930. A pure devotee of Krishna, who raised me as a Krishna-conscious child from the beginning of my life. In my boyhood ages, he instructed me how to play the mridanga. He gave me Radha Krishna Vigraha to worship, and he gave me Jagannath Rat to duly observe the festival as my childhood play. He was kind to me, and I imbibed from him the ideas later on solidified by my spiritual master, the Eternal Father. Now, Srila Prabhupada was able to print this book by a donation that was given to him by George Harrison. And when Srila Prabhupada realized it was time to do that, and he needed $19,000 to do it, Dainipan needed that much money up front. So he told Shyamasundar, who had been cultivating George Harrison, and Shyamasundar was so paranoid about asking George for money, because everyone asked George for money, everyone. And he didn't want to disturb the relationship at all. So you can read about this pastime in the book called Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. If you haven't read it, it's a must read. Such an adventure. And there Shyamasundar was putting it off, and finally there was a dinner at the Marble Walla, a marble contractor, and Shyamasundar was there, George Harrison was there, and they were having dinner with the family. And then at one point it went on and had the meal, and he was, kind of building up strength, and he knew he had to do it, but he couldn't quite bring himself to do it. So then right after the meal, that was it. He couldn't wait any longer. And he said, George, and he went, yes. Srila Prabhupada, and then there was a lightning strike. Lightning struck the house. The whole house shook. The lights went out. It was like a bomb had hit. And then after a long silence and darkness, the lights went back on. And George said, so what did Srila Prabhupada say? And then he asked him, and he immediately said, yes. You can count on that $19,000. So, as a result of that generosity, George Harrison has a little piece that he wrote by hand. It's called Words from Apple, not the modern day Apple. This is an Apple corporation. It's the Apple label of the Beatles label, record label. Words from Apple. Everybody is looking for Krishna. Some don't realize that they are, but they are. Krishna is God, the source of all that exists, the cause of all that is, was, or ever will be. As God is unlimited, he has many names. Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Rama, all are Krishna, all are one. God is not abstract. He has both the impersonal and personal aspect to his personality, which is supreme, eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. As a single drop of water has the same qualities as an ocean of water, so has our consciousness the qualities of God's consciousness. But through our identification and attachment with material energy, physical body, sense pleasures, material possessions, ego, etc., our true transcendental consciousness has been polluted, and like a dirty mirror, it is unable to reflect a pure image. With many lives, our association with the temporary has grown. This impermanent body, a bag of bones and flesh, is mistaken for our true self, and we have accepted this temporary condition to be final. Through all ages, great saints have remained as living proof that this non-temporary, permanent state of God consciousness can be revived in all living souls. Each soul is potentially divine. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the Supreme Consciousness. 6:28. Yoga, a scientific method for God or self-realization, is the process by which we purify our consciousness, stop further pollution, and arrive at the state of perfection, full knowledge, full bliss. If there's a God, I want to see him. It's pointless to believe in something without proof. And Krishna consciousness and meditation are methods where you can actually obtain God perception. You can actually see God and hear him, play with him. It might sound crazy, but he is actually there, actually with you. There are many yogic paths, Raja, Jnana, Hatha, Kriya, Karma, Bhakti, which are all acclaimed by the masters of each method. Swami Bhaktivedanta, as his title says, a bhakti yoga, following the path of devotion. By serving God through each thought, word, and deed, and by chanting his holy names, The devotee quickly develops God consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One inevitably arrives at Krishna consciousness. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. I request that you take advantage of this book, Krishna, and enter into its understanding. I also request that you make an appointment to meet your God now through the self-liberating process of yoga, union, and give peace a chance. Handwritten, All You Need Is Love, Krishna, Haribol, George Harrison, 31-3-70. That's from the Apple Corps Limited, 3 Savile Road, London, W1. Hey, the temple's in W1. Gerard, it's right on the, yeah, it's close by. Okay, so I used to distribute this Krishna book many years ago in the 70s, the early 70s. And one day, George Harrison came to San Francisco for a concert. And we went to that concert, and I'm telling you the truth, I set a record. I would just bring this, what we just read out, I would open it up, and we were in the parking lots, and so many cars were coming in. We just stopped and said, hey, George wants you to have one of these, see? George wants, here, and they just, money started pouring out of windows, and books got pouring into cars, and at the end of the day, 875 sets of Krishna books were sold. One night. So we can't imagine the influence that this person had on the spreading of Krishna consciousness around the world. And finally he went to Bombay to meet Srila Prabhupāda, and he had his bead bag on, and he was chanting Hare Krishna. He was a devotee, actually. He was a devotee. And the songs that he wrote, you know, Here Comes the Sun, that was written personally about Srila Prabhupada. My sweet Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, and so we owe him a lot. And Prabhupada said he wanted to move in. Prabhupada said, no, you're not going to move in. You're so famous. You just keep chanting Hare Krishna, being a devotee, and telling people about Krishna from your position. That's the best thing you can do. Preface. Nivrita Tarshire Upagiyamanad Bhavau Sadach Chotra Mano Birahamad Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat Puman Virajye Chidvina Pashugnat. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.1.4. In the Western countries, when someone sees the cover of a book like Krishna, he immediately asks, who is Krishna? Who is the girl with Krishna? Etc. The immediate answer is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's the first sentence in Prabhupada's writing. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For all of those out there who think that it should be Blessed Lord, you can think again that Prabhupada wanted Blessed Lord, because it's right here in the first words that Prabhupada said. He doesn't say Krishna, the Blessed Lord, on the cover. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Supreme Personality of Godhead is the perfect translation of Bhagavan. It has all the elements. Supreme, he's a supreme being. Personality, he's a personality. And Godhead, he's the source of everything. You know, the fountainhead, we talk about the fountainhead of liberties, the fountainhead of the river that comes down to the ocean, all these things. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the perfect description or translation of the word Bhagavan. How is that? Because he conforms in exact detail to descriptions of the Supreme Being, the Godhead. In other words, Krishna is the Godhead because he is all attractive. Outside the principle of all attraction, there is no meaning to the word Godhead. How is it one can be all attractive? First of all, if one is very wealthy, if he has great riches, he becomes attractive to the people in general. Similarly, if someone is very powerful, he also becomes attractive. And if someone is very famous, he also becomes attractive. He also becomes attractive, and if someone is very famous, he also becomes attractive. And if someone is very beautiful or wise or unattached to all kinds of possessions, he also becomes attractive. So from practical experience, we can observe that one is attractive due to 1, wealth, 2, power, 3, fame, 4, beauty, 5, wisdom, and 6, renunciation. One who is in possession of all 6 of these opulences at the same time, who possesses them to an unlimited degree, is understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These opulences of the Godhead are delineated by Parashara Muni, a great Vedic authority. We have seen many rich persons, many powerful persons, many famous persons, many beautiful persons, many learned and scholarly persons, and persons in the renounced order of life, unattached to material possessions. But we have never seen any one person who is unlimitedly and simultaneously wealthy, powerful, famous, beautiful, wise, and unattached, like Krishna, in the history of humanity. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a historical person who appeared on this earth 5,000 years ago. He stayed on this earth for 125 years and played exactly like a human being. But his activities were unparalleled. From the very moment of his appearance to the moment of his disappearance, every one of his activities is unparalleled in the history of the world. And therefore, anyone who knows what we mean by Godhead will accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to the Godhead, and no one is greater than him. That is the import of the familiar saying, God is great. There are various classes of men in the world who speak of God in different ways. But according to the Vedic literatures and according to the great Acharyas, the authorized persons versed in the knowledge of God in all ages, like Acharyas, Shankar, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Lord Chaitanya, and all their followers by disciplic succession, all unanimously agree that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as we, the followers of Vedic civilization, are concerned, we accept the Vedic history of the whole universe, which consists of different planetary systems called Svargaloka, or the higher planetary system, Martyaloka, or the intermediary planetary system, and Pataloka, or the lower planetary system. The modern historians of this earth cannot supply historical evidences of events that occurred before 5,000 years ago. And the anthropologists say that 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had not appeared on this planet because evolution had not reached that point. But the Vedic histories, such as the Puranas and the Mahabharata, relate human histories which extend millions and billions of years into the past. For example, from these literatures we are given the histories of Krishna's appearances and disappearances millions and billions of years before. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that both he and Arjuna had many births before, and that he, Krishna, could remember all of them, but Arjuna could not. This illustrates the difference between the knowledge of Krishna and that of Arjuna. Arjuna might have been a very great warrior, a well-cultured member of the Kuru dynasty, but after all, he was an ordinary human being. Whereas Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the possessor of unlimited knowledge. Because he possesses unlimited knowledge, Krishna has a memory that is boundless. Krishna's knowledge is so perfect that he remembers all the incidents of his appearances some millions and billions of years in the past. But Arjuna's memory and knowledge are limited by time and space, for he is an ordinary human being. In the 4th chapter, Krishna states that he can remember instructing the lessons of the Bhagavad Gita some millions of years ago to the sun god Vivaswan. Nowadays, it is the fashion of the atheistic class of men to try to become God by following some mystic process. Generally, the atheists claim to be God by dint of their imagination or their meditational prowess. Krishna is not that kind of God. He does not become God by manufacturing some mystic process of meditation, nor does he become God by undergoing the severe austerities of the mystic yogic exercises. Properly speaking, he never becomes God because he is the Godhead in all circumstances. Within the prison of his maternal uncle, Kamsa, where his father and mother were confined, Krishna appeared outside his mother's body as the four-handed Vishnu Narayana. Then he turned himself into a baby and told his father to carry him to the house of Nanda Maharaj and his wife, Yashoda. Hare Krishna Gauranga Madhava. When Krishna was just a small baby, the gigantic demoness Putana attempted to kill him. But when he sucked her breast, he pulled out her life. That is the difference between the real Godhead and a God manufactured in the mystic factory. Krishna had no chance to practice the mystic yoga process, yet he manifested himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead at every step, from infancy to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to young manhood. In this book, Krishna, all of his activities as a human being are described. Although Krishna plays like a human being, he always maintains his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Krishna is all attractive, one should know that all his desires should be focused on Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the individual person is the proprietor or master of his own body, but that Krishna, who is the super soul present in everyone's heart, is the supreme proprietor and supreme master of each and every individual body. As such, if we concentrate our loving propensities upon Krishna only, then immediately universal love, unity, and tranquility will be automatically realized. When one waters the root of a tree, he automatically waters the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers. When one supplies food to the stomach through the mouth, he satisfies all the various parts of the body. The art of focusing one's attention on the Supreme and giving one's love to Him is called Krishna consciousness. We have inaugurated the Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone can satisfy his propensity for loving others simply by directing his love toward Krishna. The whole world is very eager to satisfy the dormant propensity of love for others, but the various invented methods like socialism, communism, altruism, humanitarianism, and nationalism, along with whatever else may be manufactured for the peace and prosperity of the world, are all useless and frustrating because of our gross ignorance of the art of loving Krishna. Generally, people think that by advancing the cause of moral principles and religious rights, they will be happy. Others may think that happiness can be achieved by economic development. And yet others think that simply by sense gratification, they will be happy. But the real fact is that people can be happy only by loving Krishna. Krishna can perfectly reciprocate one's loving propensities in different relationships called mellows or rasas. Basically, there are 12 loving relationships. One can love Krishna as the supreme unknown, as the supreme master, the supreme friend, the supreme child, the supreme lover. These are the 5 basic love rasas. One can also love Krishna indirectly in 7 different relationships, which are apparently different from the 5 primary relationships. All in all, however, if one simply reposes his dormant loving propensity in Krishna, then his life becomes successful. This is not a fiction, but it's a fact that can be realized by practical application. One can directly perceive the effects that love for Krishna has on his life. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this science of Krishna consciousness is called the king of education, the king of all knowledge, the king of all confidential things, and the supreme science of transcendental realization. Yet we can directly experience the results of this science of Krishna consciousness because it is very easy to practice and is very pleasurable. Whatever percentage of Krishna consciousness we can perform will become an eternal asset to our life, for it is imperishable in all circumstances. It has now been actually proved that today's confused and frustrated younger generation in the Western countries can directly perceive the results of channeling the loving propensity toward Krishna alone. It is said that although one executes severe austerities, penances, and sacrifices in his life, if he fails to awaken his dormant love for Krishna, then all his penances are to be considered useless. On the other hand, if one awakened his dormant love for Krishna, if one has awakened his dormant love for Krishna, then what is the use in executing austerities and penances unnecessarily? The Krishna consciousness movement is the unique gift of Lord Chaitanya to the fallen souls of this age. It is a very simple method which has actually been carried out during the last 4 years in the Western countries. And there is no doubt that this movement can satisfy the dormant loving propensities of humanity. This book, Kṛṣna, is another presentation to help the Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world. This transcendental work of literature is published with profuse illustrations. People love to read various kinds of fiction, to spend their time and energy. Now this tendency can be directed to Krishna. The result will be the imperishable satisfaction of the soul, both individually and collectively. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that even a little effort expended on the path of Krishna consciousness can save one from the greatest danger. Hundreds of thousands of examples can be cited of people who have escaped the greatest dangers of life due to a slight advancement in Krishna consciousness. We therefore request everyone to take advantage of this great transcendental literary work. One will find that by reading one page after another, an immense treasure of knowledge in art, science, literature, philosophy, and religion will be revealed. And ultimately, by reading this one book, Krishna, love of Godhead, will fructify. My grateful acknowledgement is due to Shriman George Harrison, now chanting Hare Krishna, for his liberal contribution of $19,000 to meet the entire cost of printing this volume. May Krishna bestow upon this nice boy further advancement in Krishna consciousness. And at last, my ever-willing blessings are bestowed upon Shriman Shyamasundar Das Adhikari, Shriman Brahmananda Das Brahmachari, Shriman Hayagriva Das Adhikari, Shriman Satsvarup Das Adhikari, Shrimati Devahuti Devi Dasi, Shrimati Jadurani Devi Dasi, Shriman Muralidhar Das Brahmachari, Shriman Bhardaraj Das Adhikari, and Shriman Prajumna Das Adhikari, etc., for their hard labor in different ways to make this publication a great success. Hare Krishna. Advent Day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, February 26, 1970. ISKCON Headquarters, 3764 Watsika Avenue, Los Angeles, California. That's the preface. And we're almost at 8 o'clock, but I can't stop. Don't mind. Yeah, I'm hooked. It didn't take very long to get me hooked again. Introduction. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Raksha Mam. Krishna, 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 Pahi Mam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Raksha Mam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahi Mam. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 7:96. When Lord Chaitanya went took sannyas and he started traveling, he would chant this mantra wherever he went, constantly. While attempting to write this book, Krishna, let me first offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master. Om Vishnu Pad 108, Sri Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupāda. Then let me offer my respectful obeisances to the ocean of mercy, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna himself, appearing in the role of a devotee, just to distribute the highest principles of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya began his preaching from the country known as Godhead, West Bengal. And as I belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, I must therefore offer my respectful obeisances to the disciplic succession of that name. This Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is also known as the Brahma Sampradaya, because the disciplic succession originally began from Brahma. Brahma instructed the sage Narada. Narada instructed Vyāsadeva, and Vyāsadeva instructed Madhva Muni, or Madhvacharya. Shri Madhavendra Puri, the originator of the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, was a sannyasi, renunciant, who belonged to the Madhvacharya disciplic succession. He had many renowned disciples, such as Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and Ishvara Puri. Ishvara Puri happened to be the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us offer our respectful obeisances to Ishvara Puri, Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, Srivas Pandit, and Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Next, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sarup Damodar, who acted as the private secretary to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sri Vāsadeva Datta and the constant attendant of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Govinda, and the constant friend of Lord Chaitanya, Mukunda, and also to Murari Gupta. And let us offer our respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Krishna himself has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that whenever there are discrepancies in the regulative principles of man's religious life and a prominence of irreligious activities, he appears on this earthly planet. In other words, when Lord Sri Krishna appeared, there was a necessity of minimizing the load of sinful activities accumulated on this planet or in this universe. For affairs of the material creation, Lord Mahavishnu, the plenary portion of Krishna, is in charge. Thus, when the Lord descends, the incarnation emanates from Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the original cause of the material creation, and from him Garbhodakashayi Vishnu expands, and then Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Generally, all the incarnations appearing within this material universe are plenary expansions from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Therefore, the business of minimizing the overload of sinful activities on this earth does not belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, but when Krishna appears, all the Vishnu expansions join with him. Krishna's different expansions, namely Narayana, the quadruple expansion of Vāsadeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, as well as partial plenary expansions like Matsya, the incarnation of a fish, and the Yuga avatars, incarnations for the millennium, and the Manvantara avatars, incarnations associated with the reigns of the Manus, all combine together and appear with the body of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the complete whole, and thus all plenary expansions and incarnations always live with him. Therefore, when Krishna appeared, Lord Vishnu was with him. Krishna actually appears in order to demonstrate his Vrindavan pastimes, and in this way attract the fortunate conditioned souls and invite them back home, back to Godhead. The killing of the demons in Vrindavan was carried out only by the Vishnu portion of Krishna. The Lord's abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 20th verse, where it is stated that there is another, eternal nature, the spiritual sky, which is transcendental to this manifested and non-manifested matter. The manifested world can be seen in the form of many stars and planetary systems, such as the sun and moon. But beyond this, there is a non-manifested portion, which is not approachable by anyone in this body. And beyond that non-manifested matter is the spiritual kingdom. That kingdom is described in the Bhagavad Gita as supreme and eternal, never to be annihilated. This material nature is subjected to repeated creation and annihilation. But that part, the spiritual nature, remains as it is eternally. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is also described in the Brahma Samhita as the abode of Chintamani. That abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There, the trees are called desire trees, and the cows are called surabhi. The Lord is served there by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. His name is Govinda, the primeval Lord, and is the cause of all causes. There the Lord plays his flute. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like that of a beautiful cloud. On his head is a peacock feather. He is so attractive that he excels thousands of cupids. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna gives only a little hint of his personal abode, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. But in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Krishna actually appears with all his paraphernalia and demonstrates his activities in Vrindavan, then at Mathura, and then at Dwaraka. The subject matter of this book will gradually reveal all these activities. The family in which Krishna appeared is called the Yadu dynasty. This Yadu dynasty belongs to the family descending from Soma, the god of the moon planet. There are two different Kshatriya families of the royal order, one descending from the king of the moon planet and the other descending from the king of the sun planet. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he generally appears in a Kshatriya family because he has to establish religious principles or the life of righteousness. The Kshatriya family is the protector of the human race, according to the Vedic system. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in the family descending from the sun god, known as the Raghuvangsha. And when he appeared as Lord Krishna, he did so in the family known as the Yaduvangsha. There is a long list of the kings of the Yaduvangsha in the 9th Canto, 24th chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. All of them were great, powerful kings. Krishna's father's name was Vāsadeva, son of Shurasena, descending from the Yadu dynasty. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not belong to any dynasty of this material world, but the family in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears becomes famous by his grace. For example, sandalwood is produced in the states of Malaya. Sandalwood has its own qualifications apart from Malaya, but because accidentally this wood is mainly produced in the states of Malaya, it is known as Malayan sandalwood. Similarly, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, belongs to everyone. But just as the sun rises from the east, although there are other directions from which it could rise, so by his own choice, the Lord appears in a particular family, and that family becomes famous. As explained above, when Krishna appears, all his plenary expansions appear with him. Krishna appeared along with Balarama, Baladeva, who is known as his elder brother. Balarama is the origin of Sankarshan, of the quadruple expansion. Balarama is also the plenary expansion of Krishna. In this book, the attempt will be made to show how Krishna appeared in the family of the Yadu dynasty and how he displayed his transcendental characteristics. This is very vividly described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, specifically the 10th canto. And thus, the basis of this book will be the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And we're going to stop the reading here. This Krishna book is the 10th canto summary. It comprises 90 chapters. There's 335 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. And out of them, 90 chapters describes the pastimes of Krishna. There's 33 incarnations of Krishna described in the Bhagavatam. And most of them have one chapter, or sometimes two, sometimes less, but like that. So Krishna, he gets more coverage than any other of his incarnations. Another clear indication that he's the Supreme. So we look forward to reading this book, which is my favorite book. And it should be everyone's favorite book. Because why? Because the goal of spiritual life, the goal of the Vedas, the goal of everything that we do, our austerities, our deity worship, our devotional service, is to uncover our dormant love for Krishna. But you can't love someone unless you know them. And therefore, just as we are here in this family, this beautiful family, and the love that they have for one another is very clear. I've been here for a month watching the day-to-day activities, and it's very clear. Why? Because they know one another really well. Because when you live with someone for a long time, you cannot help but get to know them very well. So how can we think that loving God can be achieved without knowing him very, very well. And this is the difference between the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and all other scriptures, particularly the 10th canto, but all the Bhagavatam, to prepare us from this, for this 10th canto. And Prabhupada is so expert that he's giving us this 10th canto even before he had only done the first canto of the Bhagavatam when he brought out this 10th canto summary, Krishna book. And he put in his purports to the first canto, he told us, I put everything there because I don't know how many years I'm going to have to live and whether I'm going to be able to finish the whole Bhagavatam translation, verse by verse commentaries. So let us count our blessings that we have come in contact with Srila Prabhupada and his literatures. Let us dedicate our lives to hearing them and distributing them and explaining them to others. And if we do that, we will get that love for Krishna. Because if you go through Prabhupada's books carefully, sincerely, and honestly, you will get to know Krishna really well. And all of his adorable and powerful and sweet and transcendental, unbelievable, impossible things that he does will convince us. And it's not a matter of just conviction. It's a matter of the heart being attracted, the soul being awakened from within the heart by hearing about Krishna. Hare Krishna. So that's it for our first night's reading of the Krishna book. We will start with the introduction tomorrow night. Hare Krishna. So if there are any reflections,
Om Sudevi Dasi.
Bhakti Devi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
Sudevi Dasi.
Oh, Sudevi Dasi, Hare Krishna.
Welcome back, dear Guru Maharaj. So happy.
Me too. Happy dancing, happy hearing, happy chanting.
Bhaktivedanta. Welcome back, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Bhaktarupa?
Yeah.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Stefano Rampoldi. Welcome back. I miss you.
Hare Krishna. We missed you too.
Rati Manjari. Haribo Jai Guru Maharaj. Great to see you
Hi,
again.
Hare Krishna, Rati. Nice to be back.
Santa Rupa Devidasi. So good to hear you again in the association of the esteemed devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Santa Rupa Devi Dasi. I hope everything's good in Wales.
Ananda Mochi Devidasi. Jai Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna Nandamurti Devi Dasi in Osaka, Japan.
From Vilas Manjari Dasi.
Vilas Manjari Devi Dasi from where? There's two of them. One of them's in Australia and the other one's in New Vrindavan? Or no, someplace else. I can't remember. Hare Krishna.
Welcome back, dear Maharaj. I'm so happy to see you here and looking forward to reading Krishna book with you. I've been hearing Antya-lila daily while you were away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I pray you continue to recover nicely.
Thank you so much. Well, my surgeon is very expert. Yes.
Do we have from A.V. Thompson? From Gopal Roy.
Hare Krishna, Gopal Roy.
Welcome back, Maharaj. I offer you my profuse love and obeisances.
Thank you so much, Gopal Roy. Thank you very much for being there in Wales and being the root cause of so many devotees coming to spread Krishna consciousness with you.
This preface is absolutely brilliant and perfect. I really like the point of realizing that we all have a loving propensity, your servant.
Yes, absolutely. We cannot deny it. if we hear and if we're sincere and honest, we cannot deny these truths.
This and then the PS, the altar looks extremely beautiful.
Excuse me?
The altar looks extremely
Yes,
beautiful.
it looks extremely beautiful. And I didn't mention them enough when I first came in. I was so bewildered by the whole situation, being back, so happy.
Ananda Mochi Devidasi. The result of this reading of Srila Prabhupada's book together will be the imperishable satisfaction of the soul, both individually and collectively.
Hare Krishna, that sounds like a wonderful idea. Let's hear more of that. Go ahead.
Saloni Sachi Sundari. Hare Krishna Maharaj, happy to have your darshan. Thank you for caring for us to read the nectar.
Well, thank you for being there. So I have somebody to read to.
Bhakta Rupa Das. It's so nice to hear your voice and see your effulgent smile again, Maharaj. I speak for everyone when I say we all missed you a lot.
Thank you very much. I missed you a lot.
So excited to hear Krishna book with you, Maharaj. Love how Prabhupada describes how we must simply channel love towards Krishna to be happy.
Yes.
P.S. This is Bhakta Ben. Very happy to let you know I received initiation
from
Shiva
Swami
Maharaj.
This is Bhakta Ben and Shiva Maharaj, one of my best friends, initiated you. And now your name is Bhaktadas? Fantastic.
Name is Bhakta Rupa.
Bhakta Rupa.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is from Daityari Hari. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to tuning in as often as possible to hear these readings live. We heard tonight that if one simply reposes his dormant living propensity in Krishna, then his life becomes successful. This is not a fiction, but it is a fact that can be realized by practical application. One can directly perceive the effects that love for Krishna has on his life.
Yes, that's why George Harrison said in his comment, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
How is this loving propensity reposed in the conditioned stage when we are practicing sadhana bhakti and haven't been fully purified?
By chanting Hare Krishna regularly, a prescribed number of times every day without fail. That's how this loving propensity is awakened, because our heart is purified by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and by the pastimes of Krishna and by the instructions of Krishna.
From Nitai Gosai. Hare Krishna, dear Śrīla Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Dal Nitai, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Thank you for tirelessly helping us forward. Obeisances and best wishes from your servants in Belgium.
Yes. May you and Radhananda Devidasi be all successful in your life on all levels. Hare Krishna.
Vilas Manjari Dasi. This is Vilas Manjari in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Vilas Manjari, we're so happy to hear that you're here.
Rati Manjari. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Tonight my life has returned to transcendental normal.
Well, Rati, you have a way with words, don't you? Very nice.
I look forward to hearing Krishna book from you. I loved hearing Srila Prabhupada's enthusiastic and proud glorification of Krishna.
Yes. Because he was in love with Krishna, then his association is addictive. It's what's the word? Looking for the word. Contagious. It's a contagious in a good way, just like a contagious disease is powerful in a bad way. So Prabhupada's love for Krishna, and when he talks about Krishna, it's contagious. The enthusiasm.
From Vrajaloka, Devitasi.
Hare Krishna Brajaloka.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj. So good to see and hear you again. Thank you very much for being here with us again.
Reliability over time breeds faith. The more reliable we are over time, the more our faith becomes strong. And Krishna's faith in us becomes strong. We should always remember that. We're hearing a lot about how our faith has to become strong for Krishna, but we also have to have Krishna's faith in us become strong. And we do that by reliably hearing and chanting His glories constantly, regularly, over a long period of time. It is guaranteed to work. Thank you very much, everyone. Somehow or other, by the grace of this family, I made it through more than an hour, well more than an hour. We made it through. Thank you so much. And I'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place. These lovely, with these lovely deities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and their liberated souls, followers. Hare Krishna. Krishna Book Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same time, same topic. The pure love for Krishna. Hare Krishna.